So let's talk a little bit about the impact of individual differences on sport participation and the purchase of sporting goods to participate in those sports. We have lots of individual differences. Probably the most common and the one thought of probably most frequently would be demographics. So there are things like gender, income, education, occupation, economic circumstances, maybe racial and ethnic backgrounds. Each of these definitely influences both participation and the purchase of specific brands of sporting goods. You can certainly can see where income would impact if you have a gym membership and where that membership might be. Country club memberships are relatively expensive, and so certainly income, but also education and occupation have an impact on those sorts of things, and participation in such things as bowling and tennis. Now, the good news is that there is secondary data relatively available and inexpensive that helps to determine the impact of gender, income, education, occupation, economic circumstances, and ethnic background on the participation in particular sports and the purchase of certain kinds of sporting goods. So that information is readily available. Another sort of individual differences are psychographics and lifestyles. You're familiar with such things as lifestyles with yuppies, muppies, and guppies. Yuppies are young urban professionals. Muppies are mature urban upwardly mobile professionals. And guppies are geriatric upwardly mobile professionals. Yuppies often are interested in becoming golfers and tennis players. Muppies might be much more into walking and fitness classes, and of course, guppies would be more into walking, perhaps yoga, and some other types of low impact exercising. There are whoopies, well-off older people, dinks, dual income, no kids, swanks, and which are single women and no kids, and nicks, which are no income but a couple of kids. Of course, each of these lifestyles also impact whether or not you participate in a sport and whether or not and what sorts of sporting goods you might buy to participate in that sport. A lot of this is, of course, income driven, but it's also driven by lifestyle. The life cycle position is another, and values, attitudes, and lifestyle is still one more. Family life cycles include such things as the bachelor stage, newly married, a full nester, young couple with children, full nesters, empty nesters, solitary survivors, all those sorts of things. And of course, your family life cycle position will impact what sorts of sports you're interested in and what sorts of sports you more likely are going to be participating in. Lifestyle and psychographics. Lifestyles include a person's pattern of living based on activities, interests, and opinions. Work, hobby, shopping, sports are actually part of the activities notion. There are interests and there are opinions. The most widely used version of this is something called VALS, which is SRI's Values and Lifestyles typology. And that lifestyle typology has eight different categories, from innovators to survivors, thinkers, achievers, and experiencers. And you can see here as we go up and down these particular segments of values and lifestyles that it is partially influenced by income and also then partially influenced by low and high levels of innovation. That is, whether or not you want to be the first on your block to be in a hot yoga class, for instance, et cetera, et cetera. The final individual difference are called geodemographic, based on demographics, psychographics, and geographics. The PRISM data, which is part of the Nielsen data, is an example of this. Um, but also there are a number of other organizations that put together data that is geodemographically based, which means it's based on demographics, psychographics, and geographics.